A very good morning and welcome back to the Rush Hour. My name is Mubarak Mugabo, and of course now we want to get into the big issue of the day. Over the weekend, we saw a story coming in from the Ministry of Education and of course from the Uganda National Examinations Board, tying the subscription fee of the Uganda National Students Association, which is supposed to be 2,000 shillings per student or per child in the institutions that is supposed actually to be contributing to that amount, to actually be also enforced by the Uganda National Examinations Board. So the UNEB is meant not to release students' materials to the schools of those students who have not paid for this subscription. There is kind of a controversy there because students might have paid for, they are paying for the materials, and then the UNEB shouldn't be tying that money onto the UNSA subscription and also to enforcing that and also collecting that money. But also another version of a narrative that if a student is not paid that money, then is not fit actually to sit for those examinations. But a discussion is also elaborated further on what exactly UNSA is and what positive impact does it put on the students and of course the rest of the stakeholders in this country. Now that is going to be our center of discussion, and joining me to discuss that are two distinguished guests. One of them is the president of the Uganda National Students Association, that's Mr. Welunga Yusuf, and also Okiliza Didas, the executive director of National Private Educational Institutions Association in Uganda. They will be actually taking us through what exactly this UNSA is and what roles it should play, and of course the development that came up over the weekend. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Let me start with actually the UNSA president. What is this UNSA thing, and what is it? What role does it have in our schools and in our education institutions?
Thank you very much, moderator and Mr. Didas. UNSA is Uganda National Students Association, an association established by an act of parliament, that's Education Act under section 30 of 2008. Yes. UNSA should be traced back since the 1960s. By then it was called NUSU. But because of the change of various leadership regimes, we saw it being suspended for a while until 1988, when the current president took over, realized the importance of students being in one umbrella, can easily be mobilized for a good cause, and the students themselves needed that mouthpiece that can speak on their behalf. So we saw UNSA being re-established in 1988. And it has its own constitution which guides its operations. The association, if you look at its objectives in that very constitution, it has very good objectives. One of them is to do the advocacy for students' rights. You have seen in a number of scenarios where students' rights have been violated, and UNSA vehemently has come out to speak on behalf of the students, to advocate what belongs to them. For example, currently, we are speaking for the students of Makerere, that let the administration of Makerere put up elections to enable students, establish the students' government that can effectively represent the views of the students. UNSA also does the lobbying of students, for students. For example, as I speak, we have lobbied for over 150 scholarships for students. As I speak, 60 students who are studying at UICT Nakawa here on government sponsorship. They got these slots through the lobbying from UNSA. We collaborated with the job department, and these students were given these scholarships. And these were purely needy students. So we also do the lobbying for students, both local and international scholarships. Recently, we've been advertising for the scholarship, for the Russian scholarships. And I would wish to inform you, 25 students were selected to go and study from abroad. So that's one of the, that's also another role why UNSA is established. Also, UNSA does the representation of students where students may not all go. Currently, we've had issues with government students. They've been complaining of the limited resources given to them by the government. So through the representation, we're able to engage the concerned authorities to advocate for the increment on their facilitation. And as I speak, we're happy when the Vice Chancellor of Makerere also took it up to the Deputy Speaker and they discuss upon it. As we speak, they are working around the mechanisms to see how it is increased. So those are some of the advantages of the association. But also, in any society, we cannot have a well-mobilized and organized society without leadership. Even I believe at Urban TV here, you have the leadership. Or at Vision Group, you have the leadership. You have the head up to the bottom. So even the students, they needed that leadership. And that leadership is there to give way for the students, to mobilize students for the good cause, to call upon students to do away with bad things and embrace good things. Like, why should the students continue with the strikes? We come in and intervene on behalf of the students to ensuring that students are not manipulated, students are well mobilized for the good cause.
I'll bring in later Yusuf, leaders later, but because I just want us actually to come to speed on what exactly this association does and how is it supported, who's supposed to facilitate and finance that institution or that association to be able to execute all those roles.
Thank you very much. In 1988, when this association was re-established, the council, because the association has its highest organ, the highest organ of the UNSA is the Students' Council, where the students' leaders all over the country meet to make laws, to make policies. So in 1988, the council sat and resolved that let each student subscribe to, 500 shillings. But the money wasn't all that enough. So by 2010, the council sat in Mbale at UTC Elgon. It resolved that let's increase this money from 500 shillings to 2,000 shillings. And it was passed. And it became a policy or a law. Then in 2015, in Gulu, the council sat at Sacred Heart and resolved that out of the whole money collected, paid by students, that 2,000 shillings.
That is from senior secondary school to the universities.
At secondary level, let the 20% of the collected money remain at school. Then let the school remit the 40% to the district and the other 40% to the National Executive Committee.
How is this money supposed to be collected?
Thank you very much. At secondary level, every student pays this money and it is collected by the school. At university level and the higher institutions of learning, this money is paid under guild fee. Like you pay 20,000 shillings under guild fee, but there is 2,000 which is meant for UNSA.
I will come back to you. Let me actually bring in Didas here. You're coming from private institutions, Didas.
Yes, sir.
How has this money been paid and why are you not paying this subscription to the Uganda National Students Association?
Thank you.
Because this is actually the center and the bone of contention because some of your institutions are not paying this subscription.
Yes. I like thank you so much for that wonderful question. I like the presentation by the president, but it's not true. I refuted that last week in the New Vision. It's not true that schools are not paying this money. We are paying the money, and that's the reason for the existence of these people. If the association wasn't actually facilitated, we wouldn't have elections where my brother here, the president, would have been elected. So logically, it's maybe if the payment is poor, that's understandable. For the last 2 years, the payers, who are the students, have been under lockdown. 2 years have not been at school. So it's only when they are going to school that money is collected and then remitted. So there is a question of the 2 years. The question of the 2 years. 2 years cannot be a sample enough to actually criminalize schools for not paying this money.
Before we actually get to that,
yes, sir.
how are these schools collecting that money? Is it highlighted to the parents that actually this money goes to UNSA, or it is collected under a different arrangement?
No, UNSA, of course, is by Act of Parliament,
Yes.
and it's a mandatory contribution. The parents are informed in the circulars. Even all admission letters, it's a requirement that you indicate the Uganda National Student Association contribution of 2,000 per annum. So it's corrected, of course, with some rate of default, which is always around 20% for us in the sector. But maybe for public schools, USE,
UPE, oh no, USE.
USE and the UPORET,
Yes.
and maybe guild fees, where there is some level of forced pay.
Yeah.
Maybe that correction is 100%. But for us in private institutions, you levy fees and the payment is at 80%. So there is some rate of default,
Yes.
which is public knowledge, maybe for us, if people who didn't know. And whenever this money comes, it is remitted. These people have a lot of money from us, and I'm here actually to prove to the public. We have gotten an opportunity. Where does this money go?
Exactly.
Yes.
Actually, that's where I also want you to
Money
come
is
in
corrected.
yes. Does it do the roles that it's supposed to do? Because then, if Yusuf is complaining that you guys are defaulting and you don't pay the money,
Let him bring evidence that we are defaulting.
Is the money that is paid by your institutions actually, is there value for money? Is the institution, is the association doing what it's supposed to do?
This is public knowledge. All of us here are former students, or maybe we might be students. Or we may ask people out there, the viewers, whether those who are learning or have been in a learning process, whether they have actually had evidence of value for this correction. The correction is made, but it's a lot of money. I was trying to tabulate here. When UNSA is 34 years old, on average, and they claim 7 million, much as they are more, it's more than 7 million learners at their level of docket. When you get 7 million times 2,000, so per annum that is 14 billion a year. If it's at 100% correction, assume it is 12 billion at 80% correction maybe. So when you look at the period UNSA has existed, statistically you find this is around 400 billion. Whereas we have savings for workers, NSSF, we are able to, there is a physical evidence that yes, workers have been saving, not so.
Yes.
We have NSSF towers, the workers' house. Evidence, physical evidence. Even if you say, are workers in Uganda really having, do they have anything to show? Do I have anything to show for remitting NSSF? Yes, there is evidence to show. UNSA, that has been cushioned by the Constitution of Uganda. There is a freedom of association.
Yes.
But the Constitution of Uganda, the Act of Parliament cushioned UNSA.
To actually make people associate with it by force.
It is it's called statutory association. It's not forced. The law says learners must associate. And learners must contribute. And schools must contribute. Failing to contribute itself is an illegality.
Absolutely.
So now, since we are contributing, unless there is evidence in here that actually we are not, where does the money go? During COVID-19 period, you saw how students really faced challenges.
Yes.
We had students, after the pronouncement of the lockdown, we had students who got stranded at the universities. We had students who got stranded at the hostels.
Yes.
We had students who got stranded on the transit, in the bus park. Even the Minister of Gender moved up to the bus park to even see how students can actually be sent home. We have also seen students who got challenges during the lockdown, and the media was open. Out of the billions, UNSA collects. It's very painful that there is no evidence unless it is proved here. There is no evidence.
Let me just come back to you
show
after, because
that actually advocacy and lobbying,
yes, you have,
which they correct for,
you have
is not there.
mentioned two very critical issues which I want actually Yusuf to react to. Yusuf, COVID-19 hit the whole world, and of course everybody was affected. You should have been actually patient to know that this is not the issue to raise and say there is defaulting. Yes, there is defaulting, and that defaulting is really justified with the events of COVID-19. But also, another issue is value for money. You seem not to be giving value for money that you collect. What exactly is your reaction to that?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would wish to first begin with where Mr. Didas is saying
value for money.
No, don't do that one, that this money has been collected. Truth need to be said, this money is paid by students. And this money is paid to school departments, school heads.
Yeah.
School departments deliberately refuse to remit these resources. That's why they are making a lot of noise. It's like removing a bone from the dog. It will react. So we are removing bread from them, saying no, you are misappropriating these resources. This is not school's money. I want us to understand the differentiation.
Yes.
This is not school's money.
We agree.
This
and
is students' money.
And he agrees.
No.
This is not. But actually,
he's not agreeing. He's saying 4 billions. I would wish to inform you that in the history of UNSA, it has never collected even beyond 30 million. Are you getting the point? On calculation, you will come to all of those figures. But UNSA has never collected beyond 30 million. But this money is paid to schools.
On a yearly basis.
Yes. Why? When school heads get these monies, they put it to their priorities.
And not remitting them
and
to
not
the,
remitting to their session.
Let's go
That's
to
why today
maybe the reason to why they are not remitting this money, besides the COVID-19, is that you don't give value for money.
No.
Certainly we don't see you in the institutions. We have seen students being suffering in COVID-19. You have been quiet. Nothing has been done. So what exactly is your role, and what is that money supposed to do when the students
as
are
I
really
speak,
suffering?
last month we just concluded the regional debates, and these were student-centered debates to create platforms for our students to be exposed. And through these debates, many students got slots, got scholarships. As I speak, one student from Nabisunsa Girls, her tuition of the whole of this term has been cleared. One from Gombe SS, and more other institutions. As I speak,
The fund?
sorry,
that contribution is from the fund.
From the fund.
of course. As I speak,
Meaning they have been remitted.
we've been running a campaign called Back to School campaign, and we moved all over the country. And in our movement, we realized there were some female students who had dropped out of school because of the situation they had gone through. We picked some of these students and took them back to school, and we are supporting them. For example, there's a student from Kalaki Comprehensive, from Kalaki District. She's a mother to 3, that she's called Deborah, but we paid the whole of this year.
Certainly, you don't have any issue or much issue with some of the universities, maybe.
Again, it's where we have a lot of...
Maybe because I think that's the reason to why you had to involve into UNEB, into all this mess.
Now we have the...
But before actually we get to that, when did this defaulting start?
As far as the establishment of this institution. That's why today we decided to come up with
So the COVID-19, as mentioned by leaders, is an excuse.
That's an excuse. Oh, we are not talking of COVID-19. If we were to talk of COVID-19, we would say even the schools that didn't pay during COVID-19 should pay those areas. We left those things of COVID because COVID affected everybody, and we are all reviving and recovering. So we are not tagging COVID-19 to this. We are saying enough is enough. Since schools have been defaulting with these resources, students pay the money. Have you had any student complaining?
No, I've not heard that. But
Why?
Certainly the students are not the one paying
Why?
that fees.
No, students
It is the
pay.
parents.
Students pay. Students pay. But painfully, they also realize that schools don't remit. That's why we want to get any student complaint. You get head teachers and the ones complaining. Why?
Is it deliberately from your institutions that actually do not want to pay this money? Certainly because there is no value for money, one, and COVID-19 is just an excuse.
I did not give one reason. Thank you for that question. I think there are some facts that I need to put very clear here. One, that the money is corrected at some level, of course, with some difficulties of default. That should not be denied. Two, the money is remitted.
That's where the
yes,
contention
because
is.
to get this truth, and you know that this is very good for the truth to come out. UNEB has since been tagging, speaking of stationery for UNEB on UNSA fees. And there is evidence that secondary schools have been doing exams. So that was, they have used UNEB as a tool. So when he says it's not corrected, yet people are doing UNEB. And before you do UNEB, your school must declare and pay. I think that is very false. That fact needs to be understood.
Because
he's alleging,
not been paid.
if he's alleging that there are no payments, but there is, it's public knowledge that UNEB sits exams. And for you to sit exams, your
must have paid.
Your school must have remitted from senior 1 to senior 6, for those that have that cycle. For those that are from senior 1 to senior 4, you must declare how many are in S1 and what they have paid.
Yes.
Even as I talk, is it today? Today, yes. For you to pick stationery at Chambogo, you must have evidence that you have paid UNSA fees. So I don't want to...
Is it fair actually to tag UNEB into this whole fees that are supposed to be paid willingly by the schools?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let me begin by giving Mr. Didas information. He's misinformed and is misinforming the public. UNEB has never tagged UNSA fee to a stationery apart from this year. That's, I'm giving him information. It's only this year.
Why this year?
Why this year? We have thought wisely. What mechanisms do we come up with? Because
which mechanism can force them to pay?
Because
you are tried forcing them to pay.
Not, we are not forcing them.
Which are supposed to be paid willingly. Because it's an association.
Yes,
certainly.
Head teachers, you are getting these resources and you are refusing to remit. What's the problem? So we came up with mechanisms. That's one of them. Because we have 3 categories of people to pay these resources. One are the secondary schools.
Yes.
We began with them. The second ones are the higher institutions of learning. The tertiaries and so on and so forth. And those ones will also be tackled in their way. We have UBT.
Yes.
Then we have universities. Again, there is very worse. Chambogo alone has over 30 students. Times the 2,000, which is paid, is around 60 million. The maximum amount ever paid by Chambogo, it was 6 million.
It is the biggest defaulter here.
Are you getting the point?
we will actually get.
So we shall also go to those ones when it comes to higher institution of learning. So it is only this year that UNEB has come in, not previous years that UNEB has ever tagged.
Is it a fair justification really to tag this money onto UNEB, yet students have already paid for UNEB fees?
And the students have also paid for UNSA fees, but the teachers have refused to remit.
We will actually stop there for a minute, and because there are so many questions around this whole discussion, and I know Didas has also much to say about this whole discussion.
Yes.
But also there are concerns from the public, especially in regards to how you manage UNSA. You have turned UNSA into an NRM association, and people who go there are like taken for an indoctrination of some sort. Seems like you have turned UNSA from its original roles into a kind of a political association. We will actually get comments from that, and of course the roles that are supposed to be played by UNSA, and maybe could be that you are not doing those roles right. That's why the reason to why institutions are not paying and also remitting this money to the actually where it is supposed to go. But of course this is a discussion to do with the Uganda National Students Association and how schools are supposed to be remitting this money. We are going to take a very short break. When we return, we want to interrogate further what should this money do and why schools are insisting on not paying this subscription. My name is Mubarak Mugabu. We are taking a break. We are returning in a short while. Welcome back to the Rush Hour. My name is Mubarak Mugabu. We are discussing the Uganda National Students Association subscription fee that actually have put some schools in trouble. Yesterday, the ministry, or over the weekend, the ministry directed that actually UNEB should be able to tie this money onto the subscription of these schools. Now, with me in studio are 2 distinguished gentlemen, the president of the association of the National Students Association, that's Yusuf Welunga, and also Okiliza Didas, the Oriki Rizadidas, the Executive Director of the National Private Educational Institutional Association in Uganda. Before we left for a break, we were still discussing what is this money supposed to do and why is it so hard for institutions to remit this money where it is supposed to go. Let me now bring in Mr. Didas. Your private institutions are one of the issues now here where the association says you actually are the biggest defaulters in this whole situation. First of all, why do you collect this money and not remit it to the association? And also, why are you defaulting on this payment?
Thank you so much. I made it very clear that money collected is remitted with evidence, unless the president proves negative.
Otherwise?
Yes. Two, in all this, we needed to analyze some things. Association. First of all, this is a forced association. After government has cushioned you with an act to make sure you collect this money and have all the students to be your members. For us, we recruit students in our schools. And on our admission letters, we write UNSA fee. They can either pay or even default. But we are obliged to remit that money. The fundamental questions are the following. Since our students are your members, and they are led by school counselors, chairperson of school councils, who originate from every class, which mechanism does UNSA have in place to ensure they speak to the student who is a member of the association? The schools are not members of this association.
The interaction between UNSA looks to be between the administration and
themselves,
not with
not the structure of UNSA
in the schools.
Yes, you must interact with the members of your association, who are the people who subscribe.
So in other words, those associations, rather those councils within the school, should be the one to put pressure on the administration.
They should be able to account, look, if they have, for example, structured, a very transparent and structured system, from the classroom, the counselor would report to the chairperson of school council that in my class, I have verified 70% of my class have remitted the membership. It's a membership. Each student is a member, and so is entitled to that.
I think
so, and then the fundamental questions. So that it is very easy from the classroom, the chairperson of the school council, to the district chairperson of UNSA, then to the national executive of UNSA, and then they are able to actually do what? Are the district chairpersons reaching out to the associations? Do they have meetings of a nature so that they are able to express school X has not remitted? The chairperson, what do you have to say? So it has become, okay, it's a conduit of just correction. You want the school to correct and send it to you. You want the school to correct from your members. Force your members to subscribe. And after subscribing, it ends there. You move forward. You move to Kampala, from the district, the region to Kampala.
But
and then
I
wanted to develop it a bit further and, so that it is able understood. So there is that gap. Another gap is majority of the subscribers, they would be subscribers, are secondary school goers. That's the majority enrollment of students. But the leadership, the top leadership here, composition, you hear the president must be the president of the university.
Of the university, yes.
You look at the pyramid. It's a pyramid.
Secondary school.
So you look at that tip. The fewer numbers are the ones who want to lead the majority numbers on the bottom. So we should have a leadership that actually comes from the bottom, secondary schools. So that maybe if the president was in a secondary school,
yes, maybe it would have been,
and there are programs that are actually relevant to the secondary schools, then there would be evidence. But the leadership is at the top, guild president. They are here in Kampala. Majority of them. You go to the executive secretary, Then it has the accounting officer, who is not even able to come here and represent. This one is a political leader of this association. We need the technical person of this association to tell us what was the correction of 2019.
I think
what did you use the correction for?
The most fundamental question
What's the
here,
budget?
The most fundamental question here is that you collect this money and no parent is complaining about this amount. It is 2,000 Uganda shillings.
Yes.
But the issue, the most fundamental question, the biggest of it, is that you fail to remit this money. The question is on remittance, not actually collection. Okay. Why do you collect this money and fail to remit this money to where it's supposed to go?
Thank you so much. You know, when you levy fees, parents pay. There are parents who pay, majority of the parents pay in 3 installments. 3 installments of fees. Now, priorities. Why would you want me to use my money to actually the corrections of the fees, which is actually useful to the people who pay, who are the students, for the services they receive at school? Teachers teach them. We even train them. We even go further and train our school leaders at school. Then you want us
to divert,
to give you that money, and there is nothing to show or to benefit these ones.
Why do you divert that money?
It is not diverted.
It is. You highlight this money on your circulars.
Yes.
That it is UNSA fees.
Yes.
Why shouldn't you just get that money the way it comes and remit it directly?
Understand
because I
this.
understand that you can even remit it in installments.
Yes, understand this. When Didas is charged 200,000 fees, or bill, the bill total, Didas has paid 60,000. And then 100,000 the next installment. And there is the last installment where he's going to default and does not pay 20,000. The 2,000 is in the 20. Why? Because there is nothing to show for what it is going to do.
There is nothing to show.
So there is, there is no code that a parent sends this money to.
That this is the money
yes,
for UNSA.
All this goes to the leadership of UNSA. The leadership of UNSA needs to align it in the best way to enable easy correction.
Let's Yusuf react to this. And I just want Yusuf to give us a much more broader picture of, there is issue, we have talked about value for money, and it seems these are private institutions which actually also have to meet a very high cost of running these institutions. What kind of justification would you give to schools so that they can make you a priority? And why should actually schools prioritize you?
Before I come to that, I would wish to give Mr. Didas some information. You see, all schools...
Give the public information.
all schools
yes,
collect UNSA fee in first term.
It is an annual subscription.
Yes, that it is collected in the first term. But they will divert it, and you don't see any remittance from some schools.
But there are some students who can default for the whole year.
No way. The school is going to give you exams. How do you sit for exams minus clearing everything? If you are at university, it's a zero balance policy. How do you default? You know? No way. That's
so it is a direct.
Two, I also need to give Mr. Yes, deliberate. Mr. Didas another information. At National Executive Committee, we have now 13 positions because we've amended and provided the one for disabled students. Out of the 13, we have Secretary for Interschool Affairs, who is a direct member from secondary school. He's on the neck. Apart from the position of President and Speaker, all the remaining positions are open to everybody to contest. So even the one from Senior 3, if campaigns well, convinces the voters at the council, is elected. Are you getting the point? So it is not restrictive to only greedy presidents. No. The other remaining positions at NEC are open to everybody. So even those from secondary, they have an opportunity to come and...
But not to be greedy president. Sorry, not to be president.
President is a ring-fenced position.
It's a ring-fenced position.
Then too, even saying that we've not
to the minority,
we've not engaged our structures,
yes,
is not informed. On 2nd July, last July, we had just concluded the Students' Council at Mukono, at UC. And all our structures were mobilized to Mukono to talk to them, give them what they're supposed to do, to go back and mobilize the structures. So we've concluded the Students' Council recently, midterm council.
National.
Why do you settle here in Kampala? Which program do you have for the regional?
Thank you very much.
Regional and the district.
In March.
Because that's where the correction
in March. In March.
Those
I'm
are the
giving you
correction
information.
centers.
In March, we were at School of Hygiene in Bali, and only secondary leadership
Was Mbare.
No,
Of Ergon.
I'm talking of East.
That is Eastern, Ergon region.
Who were at School of
Do you
Hygiene.
facilitate these people to go there?
Yes. Are you getting the point?
When did you go to Northern, Western?
where I'm coming.
Why are you tying UNEB, which is a national examination body supposed to give quality to the country, and you tie it into this controversy? Are you not going to compromise the quality of operation of our national examination body?
We shall not.
I need
And
to
we
answer
are
this
making
also.
head teachers to wake up, to know that diversion of resources is bad. Give what belongs to Caesar to Caesar.
Leaders.
Yes. It's enjoyable to, and it's, I can see president of UNSA, it's very, very difficult to defend without facts, something without facts. We need to know where, okay, by me asking, yet students have to correct money and pay it, and I don't know anything, then do the students in our schools know?
If
They
you are
don't
the one
know.
who's collecting it,
These are papers. This is a new vision. Have we ever made a full pull-out of what you corrected, the schools that have
and
defaulted,
what it does.
what you have done,
Yes.
that is actually relevant to learners? This is, Vision Group is a very big media
Institution.
house and institution. I need to understand from you actually after this show, I need evidence to see that actually UNSA accounts to the public. When you account to the public, calling people to pigeonholes or small groups and speaking to them, and you give a few delegates of the district 500,000 transport fund out of the billions, that is fraudulent.
What is wrong with
Now-
you paying this money?
We pay.
What is wrong with you for remitting this money and then you go for your UNEB?
No,
papers?
we pay the money. That one should not be. And it's, he said that actually UNEB is using this during this time. No, UNSA and SSS might have been issues. UNEB tagging it on what? And why does UNEB correct this money? By the way, it would have been very prudent or find time and invite the spokesperson, Minister of Education, the spokesperson UNEB, or the executive secretary, and we engage them. These are the correctors. First of all, information. The PS is the patron, Minister of Education, the PS
of the UNSA.
is the patron of the UNSA, right?
No, is a member on the board of trustees.
Is the member on the board of trustees. The PS, Minister of Gender, is the member on the board of trustees. The executive secretary UNEB is the member of the board of trustees. Definitely, Minister of Education has to cushion them to come up this way, because UNEB is an organ of Minister of Education, and the executive secretary has to actually tag this correction because he's also a beneficiary. He also signs allowance. If he's a member of trustees, you really see the syndicate kind of
Are
one.
you opposed
So
to paying
now-
this money and being enforced by UNEB just because UNEB is supposed to do a different role, or
No.
this is the only way they can get you to pay this money by force?
No, that's not right. The only way these people can find their money is to make sure they are relevant to the subscribers themselves, who are the students. So the students actually move to demand for the remittances of their subscription, because it is their parents who pay this money, and we collect this money. Therefore, they should, through the school leadership, actually, you need to learn it. The school leadership should actually ensure that this money is paid. You should not invite me even to my district delegates conference when my district has not paid.
For God's sake,
And
Yusuf.
and for UNEB going, I would like to just speak and maybe caution or even warn for us as proprietors of private education institutions in Uganda. UNEB is not mandated. UNEB is not a revenue collector for an association. UNEB is not, there is no, in the UNEB Act, there is no provision for them to attach what has already been paid for. UNEB charges candidates registration fees, and they pay.
And once that is
UNEB
not
bases
paid,
on that on that data
yes, to
to
give
print
you,
and prepare materials
for your students.
for students. So the
Because
materials
we have to wind up. this
materials are paid
discussion.
for. UNEB has no right to actually withhold any examination
We have to
materials,
wind up this discussion.
and
because
we are moving for them.
you are moving for
If
them,
they
but
continue
actually,
doing that.
I want to bring in Yusuf. Yusuf, isn't it fair and morally right to just show relevance to your subscribers, to pay you not by force, other than involving our whole examination body into your excesses?
In this mess,
Thank you very much. I'll begin by asking Mr. Didas, do you own a school?
I do.
He does.
What's the name of your school?
Good Shepherd High School.
How much have you paid this year?
6 million.
How much?
6 million.
How much?
6 million.
Let me check over here. Which school?
Wait,
No,
why would
you
you?
say 6 million.
No.
What's the total number of
No,
your students?
we
No,
are
hold on, hold on.
looking at
Hold on. It's
no,
making
no,
of
no,
transparency.
Yes.
No,
What's
no,
the
no,
total
no.
number of your students?
Let me
let's
come
go
to
slow.
It is an annual subscription fee, certainly.
Yes.
It's an
What's
annual
the total number of
subscription.
these students?
There were areas, definitely.
Yes, there were areas,
which
yes.
you have actually paid.
About
You do need to know the number of
Let
my
me
children in
prove
my
him
school.
here. He's saying
I
he
don't
has
ha-
paid 6 million.
I
And he has
don't-
told us the name of the school.
I don't
Allow
have
me
to
check
prove.
here. We see whether he has. This is the lie they are telling the public, which is bad. Let's check here. You've said you've paid 6 million.
Yeah.
I want the moderator to peruse through the whole of this and see his school whether it has paid any single coin.
Yeah.
do you have a system online?
It's
that you
yes,
can
that's
check?
it's the one I'm opening.
How come I don't have
It's
it?
the one I'm opening.
But he doesn't have it.
How come I don't
And
have
he's
it?
an owner
As
of the
who?
school.
As who?
He's the director of the school. He's supposed to.
Look,
The-
in our
who
schools, I
accounts?
don't know directors. We deal with head teachers.
You see.
I getting the point.
It's okay. But
We
let's
deal
say
with
doesn't
directors.
have this
But
information.
he's saying he
And
has
he's
paid
already-
6 million.
We may not get
we
into
shall
the
pro-
details
That's
of that.
I'm
we
coming
shall
to that.
prove
I'm
this
coming to
fact.
We may not
that.
get
That's
into
why I'm
details
saying
of that.
that's the lie Mr. Didas and the colleagues are giving the public.
But
we
the
can
question
prove
is-
this.
That's a
Yes, the
lie.
question
Okay, I'm
is,
coming to that,
why
Mr.
do
Moderator.
you-
Now the issue is,
Your name.
even head teachers you have seen them diverting the statutory money of UNEB. You've seen schools failing to sit for UNEB exams because head teachers collected the money and ran away. So this is embedded culture.
These are
Isn't
simple
it? I
things.
getting the point. So if head teachers can divert, can fail to pay the statutory money and students suffer not sit for exams, what of UNSA fee?
Where does
I
the money
getting the
go?
point.
The fact
Are you getting the
is,
point?
Yes.
answer this very question. Don't
Let him
divert.
make it.
Let me
Where
make my
does
point.
Let
Let
him
me make
make
my
his
point.
point.
Let me make my point.
Because we have to finalize this.
Jesus is asking where does the money go? The
Yes.
money is eaten by you. You collect this money and you don't remit.
No, this money is remitted.
That's the issue.
I have showed you evidence of mine. We are going to check after here.
This discussion.
I want to see how the money paid by our schools is actually benefiting the
Why
runners.
is it so hard
Yes.
for you to trace
I'm coming
the
to that
money that
also.
is paid than actually showing and giving
And
people
the-
value for money and
yes,
account for the
The
money?
value for money, I'm telling you, this money is meant to run students-related activities. We've in a course of 6 months we've been in office. At least we have managed to run students-related activities. We have just concluded the workshops I was talking of. We have just concluded the regional debates. There were regional debates. We went every region and we ran these debates. And we are coming for the national debates. We've run the supporting program to students.
Yes.
We are soon rolling out the donation of sanitary materials to girl child, and we are targeting 1 million female students, more so those in village schools.
They get donations. You'll find them when you go to the media.
I
You see
know.
them appealing for mathematical sets, for people to donate sanitary pads.
I've not talked of sex.
So no, I've seen.
I've not
the-
talked of
but,
sex.
But actually, we have to wind up this
But
whole
as we
discussion.
wind up, Mr. Moderator,
I just want you.
UNSA should account for the money.
Yes, I know why don't you pay the money and then you ask for accountability?
Better.
We pay.
Than
No.
you remit them. Why shouldn't you remit the money?
You see,
and then later on you ask for accountability.
I think what the public needs to know here is, by the way, we have private schools.
Yes.
We have government schools. We have government grant-aided schools. Including even this USE and operate funds, there is UNSA payment. These people remit. They remit this money, including money which comes from Ministry of Education on the capitation grant. There is also a vote for UNSA. This money comes. In our private education institution, this money comes. We are 70% stakeholding, by the way. But what we only need
is accountability.
Let them account, not to us, by the way.
To the
association, the members of the association have the right.
Moderator, before you leave.
We have to get
Mr. Moderator, before you leave. Mr. Didas, it is disrespect and it is unethical for a person like Mr. Didas to come on air and lie that his school has subscribed 6 million. That's a total lie. I've perused.
They are called schools.
That's very lie. It's a big lie. You should even apologize. That is one. Two, we've also experienced scenarios where schools underdeclare the population. We are seeing schools paying 30,000 shillings, and that means that school is having 15 students. And most of schools are doing this. Actually, if you check the payment now, because of the tagging to UNEB, now we are seeing 60,000 shillings being paid. So, Mr. Didas saying he has paid 6 million.
No, understand this. No, correction. Correction needs to be made.
So, I want him to offer an apology for speaking a lie
Correction
here.
needs to be made.
Yes, in 1 minute.
And as a leader, you need to understand, Mr. Didas has how many schools he's representing here. Yes, you may, from here I want to show you the schools that are under my supervision and my docket,
and they have been
that
able
have
to
paid
release the money.
6 million. And I will prove it. So it's not a lie. There is no need for apology.
Absolutely.
But you will also prove to me what you have done to these schools.
Yes.
To actually have value for this money.
Exactly. We
Other
have
than
We've just coded in regional debates. Did your schools participate in the debates? Why did they come? And everything was provided.
I just want to actually continue this discussion on our social media platforms. They are on Urban TV, rather on Twitter at Urban TV Uganda. Just go on there and of course continue the discussion and submit your views, but also on Facebook, Urban Television.
And
I want to remind you that actually this discussion continues. We will actually find time and bring these gentlemen and also other stakeholders to continue this conversation and also go into the schools and find out what is the impact of UNSA on the individual students, where they are, and whether there is any justification for the schools not to remit these fees to where they are supposed to be remitted. My name is Mubarak Mugaba. We've been discussing UNSA and its role. Has been having Yusuf Welunga, the president of the National Students Association, UNSA, and also Orikiliza Didas, the executive director, National Private Education Institution Association in Uganda. We actually have to continue with the discussion, but of course, we are going to take a short break. Before we do that, there is also another discussion of slavery of our Ugandan girls in Dubai. The government of Uganda and the government of the United Arab Emirates, they are about to bring back girls here. We just want to understand their own experiences in working from abroad. Miles Ramit will be returning with that discussion.